Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how I made this painting. This is my first time making a video on YouTube, so please bear with me as I figure things out. Also, say hi in the comments. Hope you enjoy! I'm painting a scene from the video game Stray, which came out this year in summer. It's amazing, you should play it. And yeah, I'm making fan art for it. This is from the first chapter of the game, Inside the Wall, so it's not a spoiler. I really like the world building in the game, and yeah, that's what I'm doing here. You can see me doing it really fast. It's happening so fast.
It took a little bit longer in real life.
It did, but honestly, I don't even know how long it took all in all, because like, especially when I work on a long project like this, I don't do it in one go. I don't sit down and then I make the whole painting, but you know, here you can just see the Speedpaint, which is put together by Clip Studio Paint. It has an option to record your process. But I think if I do this again, I want to do a screen recording where you can see what I'm doing in Clip Studio, like which brushes I'm using and how I go about selecting colors and everything. But also because I feel like you can see a lot better that I'm not just, going at it constantly in the same speed. Yeah.
How do you start a painting? Like, obviously, you just drew a bunch of random shapes, or like random to me shapes, onto your canvas, and now you're adding like rough detail.
Yeah, it kind of depends on what approach I'm using. So this one's really paint release. So I'm not using lining. Like I didn't use a sketch layer or anything like that. I just kind of started right away with the colors as you would with using acrylic paint, for example, which is opaque. You can just put it down and go over it as many times as you want. Yeah, and then I block it out. I put the colors roughly where I want them to be, and now you can see me revisiting all these spots and adding more and more detail. Yeah, and over time it's gonna get a lot more detail. So, like with this painting, like the video just started and you can see so much happening, and now the pace is gonna get slower as you watch it, as you see me revisiting all these spots and adding detail, spending a lot of time on that.
So you just start with a very rough, like, shape map of what the picture will look like in the end, like just colors.
Kind of.
And then you just go over the picture 20 or 30 times, and each time you add a little bit more detail.
Kind of. So when I'm putting down the shapes first, I'm kind of looking for a nice composition. So like something that would look good in a thumbnail or something. So if I was to scroll back very far, I think of what would I be able to see in this painting if I'm not looking closely, Like I want the strong shapes and colors that catch the eye.
So if the image was very blurred, that's what you would see.
Kind of, yeah. And now, like, yeah, you can see it happening. I was gonna narrate a lot more about how I, paint the leaves and stuff like that. Now it's already happening. I'm revisiting it now, and I'm just doing it kind of once. So in the beginning, I put down the basic shapes, and now in the right side of the image, you can see those basic shapes still. And on the left-hand side, I'm adding all those details. And I kind of, as I was painting it, I would go from one point to the other in the image and kind of work on that one in detail, like in very much detail. So it's kind of like a scanner now. Like you will see me go from one spot of the painting to the other, just kind of moving across and adding detail in that area, and then moving to the next. Yeah, I was zooming in a lot when I did this.
I can imagine. Some of the leaves are very small.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of detail. So, like, if you're looking at this on a phone, or if you look at I don't know if you've seen the whole complete painting on your phone when I posted it on Instagram or something. it looks so small on a phone screen, but it's a big painting. I printed it out on a poster, and that that kind of does it justice, because then you can actually see the details. We're watching the process right now on a big screen, like big screen, your monitor,
Yeah,
but it's
kind
nice.
of big.
I it's kind of a shame when you're doing digital art and a lot of people are going to be looking at it on their phones and not seeing all the detail.
Well, usually what I do is just I see a nice picture and then I look at it for a few seconds at most and then I just keep going.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the struggle of an artist also. Like most people who are going to be looking at your art aren't doing it. They're not going to spend that much time on it. Like you have what, a few seconds to get someone's attention and to make them really like it. And then if you fail to do that, they're just gonna, I mean, they're gonna move on anyway. Like people see a nice artwork and then they forget about it, probably really soon. But
Yeah, I can vouch for that.
I mean, for me mostly it's just fun to make it, and the thought of, I'm just watching this happening right now, and it's like I did this, and just a few minutes ago. Like how long has this been going on? The speed paint, like 7 minutes. You can kind of see it becoming something, which is so cool.
Yeah, that's true. How do you decide when you're done with some area? Like there's a lot of detail on the pipe now and you're
Hmm.
not doing anything there right now. I don't know if it'll change anything later on. I think so. I'm not sure.
I'm not even sure right now.
Um, but how do you decide I'm
Mm,
done here now and I have to move on? Like, do you just draw a little bit there and then eventually you get sick of that spot and you just want to do something else and then you will see later if you need to change anything?
I don't know if I can say that. I I keep working on it until I like it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Until I like it. Um, and that kind of depends. Like, I mean, I'm looking at it right now and like trying to figure out where I would have maybe added some more detail, but I don't really like need to, because obviously there are some areas where some detail is missing or where you could have added more. But it's like, to me, I don't know. I just decide if I like it, and if I don't, I keep going. Like that's something in art. You kind of hear both things. Like there's artists, or like if you are an artist, you've probably heard people saying, "Well, you got to know when to stop working on your art, and you have to know when to be, to leave it be before you make it worse." And I feel like that really depends on which medium you're using. Because if you're using, for example, like watercolor on paper, that is definitely true. Because if you're using like a sort of medium that is not opaque, wait, it is opaque. What's opaque? Opacity is, I don't know shit about art terms. If you're using a medium that doesn't cover, like, I don't know, you're using watercolor and then you're using a dark color and then you can't go over it with a bright color. That's what I'm talking about. And if you're doing that, you got to know when to stop. Like at some point, it's better not to keep going. But if you're using like, if you're doing digital art like me right now, as I did here, or what, like acrylics, you can probably keep going for as long as your paper will let you. So, I mean, for me personally, I like to keep going as long as I wanna until I like the amount of detail. And if I'm if I'm working on an art piece which I really want to make and I don't like it, I don't like how it's turning out, I keep going until I do.
Hmm. Do you have any advice how much detail to add? Like on the pipe, there's a lot of big areas where there's pretty much nothing, like not even moss. But I like it because it breaks up the monotony. Like if
Mm-hmm.
everything was green, it would be really boring.
Mm-hmm.
But I would imagine that it's kind of difficult to find a good balance between like some parts are green and some parts have some light green moss, and maybe there's some rust somewhere, so it's a different color. So you have like a bunch of different colors, but how much of each do you put in the composition? Like regardless of detail, you have some portions of the pipe are gray, and some portions of it are like a little bit brown, and then you have the light green moss and you have some dark green plants, but how much of each do you add, or like how do you decide how much to add?
Okay, I feel like there's multiple layers to the question. I think when it comes to color and where you put which colors, it really depends on where you're trying to draw the viewer's eye. And it's as you said, like if you have a bunch of colors and a bunch of detail everywhere, the eye is gonna be pulled everywhere. And now, like, I feel like I don't want to be saying I'm giving advice because this is really a stylistic choice. Some people have art which is just packed everywhere, like every corner is packed, and it can be so fun to look at. But in this case, like especially if you're like looking, like I'm trying to look at the pipe, but there's stuff happening somewhere else right now. But I guess this also speaks for the whole painting. People are going to look where the color is different or where the values are different. So especially like if you're looking at this painting right now, like where do you look? What are points where you keep looking back to?
Well, mostly like flat areas. So the pipe has this big gray spot on the top left. Same with the bottom left of the pipe.
Ah.
Because there's also a big gray spot there, and everything else in the painting just looks very crowded. There's a lot of small leaves and light spots, and I just like big flat areas. I don't know.
So you're like trying to look away from where the stuff is happening.
I don't know. It's just, it's not even that it's too busy. Like I can look at each leaf, but maybe I just like the color of this big gray spot. I don't know.
That's interesting to me. I mean, I think it definitely does stick out, as you're saying, in how it lacks detail, especially in how I'm adding a lot of detail right now. But I think, okay, generally speaking, and now this is a rule of thumb which I use, I tend to go, this fucking word, how do you pronounce it? Vignette?
I have no idea how to say that word.
So like, okay, if you're looking at the picture, and now that's speaking for when it's done, like if you're looking at a complete painting, I tend to focus, or like to make more details, add more details in the center, towards the center, and then towards the edges, I go with less. Now, just as a general rule of thumb, me saying that right now doesn't mean I always do it, but...
But you did do it in this painting.
I did, because it kind of, ideally, like as I just realized, apparently it's not really working, because you tend to look at where stuff is not located.
I think I just like the color of that spot.
I mean, the idea behind that is to make people focus on what they're looking at. And now, you know, if you're looking at things in real life with your eyes, it's also like that. Like the spot you're focusing on has more detail, has more saturation, and then towards the edges, your peripheral view has less of that. So this is kind of me trying to tell the person who's looking at the image, like, look here.
Yeah, well, you do have these big areas. You have this pipe on the bottom that's pretty flat. And then, I mean, the right side isn't done yet, but I'm assuming it's going to be mostly a wall. So there's not going to be a lot of detail there.
Oh, there is. There's going to be more detail on the wall and also on the pipe, I think.
Oh.
It's just going to be more coherent. Like I'm adding more colors. You can see it right now on the wall on the side. That happened very quickly.
Yeah, but still, it's not very detailed. Like it has more color now.
Yeah.
But there aren't a lot of small leaves or anything like that.
Yeah. The most amount of detail is gonna be the middle. Like the middle part behind the cats and also the pipe, of course. And then towards the back you can still, I think it looks like there's a lot of detail in the back because you can still see like, leaves and shit, but it's also more foggy. So it's
Oh,
less
yeah.
it's less pronounced. Like if you were to zoom in, you would see that what looks like leaves is mostly shapes,
Yeah, I mean, leaves are shapes.
Yeah, but like, yeah.
I mean, all of your leaves are just shapes. Like some of them are ovals or a triangle or an approximation of some triangle.
I
But
mean,
they look like leaves because of the context.
yeah, and also, like, it doesn't have to be very precise because I feel like that kind of makes it look more alive, Because if you're outside, like if you imagine yourself in a setting like this, the leaves are moving around in the light, and it's just that was it.
No, already. Yeah, the leaves are kind
Uh,
of blurry in real life.
yeah, let's
So that makes them less sharp or like less crisp.
let's look at the painting and pause it and wrap it up. Um, I don't know. Closing remarks. That was it.
Wow.
Anything else you want to ask me?
I think it looks great.
Thank you.
If I had to give some criticism, this is maybe a very minor thing, but I think the rust on the pipe in the very back is a little bit too red. Um,
Okay.
but
Well, thanks for doing this with me. I like how it turned out.
I really like it too. I think it looks great.
There's so much stuff I wanted to say and I didn't get to say. Like,
15 minutes isn't that much time.
yeah, okay, maybe, you know what? I'm just gonna put in the complete painting and some music, whatever. People are gonna have to look at it if they want to keep listening
Why
to
would
us.
you put in music?
I was gonna say like something
We
to
just
put.
recorded like 18 minutes of conversation just for this time lapse. And now you're like,
Okay, now
well,
there's gonna
actually, I'm
be
just going to put in some music.
okay. There's gonna be an intermission now, and then we're gonna keep talking after the song. We're like
No,
a
we're
radio
done
station.
talking now.
No, there's something I wanted to say.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so let's look at the complete painting, because this is about color, something we like briefly mentioned before. And basically all I wanted to say is that you have this green dominating in most of the image, and then you have those little parts of red. So obviously the cat, and then also the cats in the background, the small ones, the rust in the back and the pipes. All those are just kind of red, and that stands out very strongly from the green around it, which is why I picked those colors.
Are red and green complementary colors?
Yes,
That's why you picked them.
yes.
Definitely. You didn't just have to think for like 4 seconds before you answered that very simple question.
I know color theory, I swear. I just don't use terms for it. I have a visual brain.
Oh, well,
That's
I
it.
don't know any terms for it.
Shut
either.
up. We're done.
Okay,
Thank you.
my lady.